Punch me in the nipples tonight. Punch me in the nipples, alright. Anyways, speaking of getting kicked in the tits, I want to talk about this. We were kind of talking about it, and I want to talk about my love for Stargate SG1. Now I know it may not be a series for everybody, which I don't know. I mean, I could see if you're not really a big fan of Richard Dean Anderson, but whatever. But I want to talk about it because, like, my mother and I used to watch movies together a lot. It was our thing, and we were like really, really excited because when it first came out, it was on Showtime, and we actually subscribed to Showtime to get this. And I remember they had the Sci Fridays, and I can remember the first night it was on, 1997, and in fact we were in the back bedroom and we were watching it, and I just, like, every week we would watch this fucking thing, and we'd make popcorn. She had this old popcorn, I don't even know what it was. Actually, it was a frying pan, and she had this big green bowl, and she'd fry the popcorn on the stove. I had not had that kind of popcorn since she died. And there's just something about cooking it on the stove. We're not talking one of those Jiffy Pop fucker things either. We're talking like actual popcorn in the little thing, and you put it in the pan, put the cover on with a little butter inside, and you shuffle. And she was like the master at shuffling this thing. It was like, and that's the sound it would make, because it would, the kernels would like rustle in there, and it was the fucking funniest thing. And you hear it, and then the thing, it made like this kettle sound, like it was just, it was this weird little shuffle sound, and it's like you could hear it in the other room, and there was no mistaking what the old woman was doing. Okay, and she'd have the big green bowl. I'd take a little bowl and I'd dip it in, I have a little bit, and when I finished it up, she'd like, "Oh, you want some more?" And I'd dip it back in, because she had, I mean, we're talking this bowl was huge. Like, she would like balance it on the gut, okay, and like the dog could climb inside of it and shit. Like, a little beagle, like the beagle could literally sleep in this fucking thing. That's how big the bowl was, and it was quote unquote the popcorn bowl. It was, it was just one of those things. We just watched this shit. Now, this is before, this was 97. This is before you could buy them on DVD and Blu-ray. So we were watching them, and we were recording them on VHS, as we did in many things. And I remember that first freaking night. Now, I don't know, I'm trying to be objective about it. I don't know if it started out as the greatest series ever. It's a fun concept. Like, okay, you got the wormhole, and you can go to different planets. It's a great, the concept is great for a weekly series. It just is. I mean, there's just no getting around that. It does have a great premise for just simplicity. But one thing I loved about the series is that as time went on, you could actually see that they were having fun together. Like, there's a Jack O'Neill character and the Daniel character, and the two of them, the banter that they have later on in like seasons 3, 4, and 5, and even further on, it's hysterical shit. I mean, it is absolutely some of the funniest shit ever. Like, there's one hit, Daniel looks at Jack and he's like, "Did you do something with your hair?" And he's like, "What do you mean?" And like, "Oh, nothing, never mind." It's funny little dialogue, and you can see that the two actors were just fucking with each other and just playing around with it. So I don't know. I really like the series. Now the series did have a couple spin-offs. I don't want to get into those too much. Because you had Atlantis and you had SGU. I didn't care for SGU because SGU was specifically made to be like Battlestar Galactica, and I couldn't get into Battlestar Galactica. Oh, to be fair, I never actually tried. In other words, I never sat down and watched it, and I probably would like it if I did. But it was meant to be more of a really, like, there's a certain style that it has that SG1 didn't, and it was a little too fast-paced for me. But anyways, I eventually did watch Stargate Universe, and the premise is, well, you kind of have to know a little bit. Although it is a standalone, it does explain it, but it helps if you know the background. But essentially, they find this outpost, and they've got a bunch of just random people. Like, well, the way it's set up is you've got these different people from different countries and shit, because it's a world, thing. So you got like Chinese people, you got different. I mean, Russians and Germans, and you got them all. And they're in this outpost. Well, the outpost gets attacked, and they have to quickly go through the Stargate. No, it didn't get attacked. That's right. Whatever. Something was happening, and it was the whole base was gonna go up, basically. I'm trying to remember. I forgot what happened. Now, they did get attacked, and something happened at the because it was on some sort of shit. I can't remember. Whatever. It was something happened, and the whole base was going to go up, and they couldn't evacuate the planet, so they had to go through the gate. And they were trying to get the gate because they found this address, and they were trying to get to it. Well, the guy who was in charge, he actually figured it out, and we finally got it open, and they had to go there, and it ended up being the ship, and the ship was basically. The ship was called Destiny, and it was set on a certain course to go, because what happened was, back in the day, the gate builders would send these ships out, and they seeded the different planets, and they put stargates there, and they added trees and whatnot. So they were kind of like these terraformers, if you will, in a way. And they end up getting stuck on this ship, and the ship is going it's going somewhere, you don't know where, and it keeps making these random stops. It's like the ship knows what they need. So it's like, okay, we need fuel. Well, okay, we go to this planet, we find whatever, we need food, or we need water, and it goes to the planet. It's almost like the ship recognizes them, almost like it's an entity. I don't know if that was a thing. They cut the series short, and it was a shame because it actually was a good series. And I don't know, it was just a shame the way it played out, that it never got a final ending, because it was a decent show, but it was more of a soap opera-y type show, where it's like, No, Atlantis was kind of fun because it was a similar concept where it was, you had this outpost, and Atlantis itself was actually a spaceship. It's a city, but it's a spaceship, and it has a star drive where it can, travel, basically, and it just lifts up, and it's this huge city that, it's a spaceship. It's kind of weird, but it's kind of cool at the same time. And it was definitely some cool stories. There was good interaction with the characters. That one I liked a little bit more. But I don't want to talk about that. But it was a good show. I mean, basically, if you can get into the first one, you're going to get into the Atlantis. And because then there was some tie-ins and stuff. Whatever. It's worth seeing. I liked Atlantis. Actually, Atlantis, I think, was a little bit better on some level. Just, production-wise and just stuff like that. Because this started out really kind of this series started out kind of weak as far as like budgets and stuff like that. And then when Sci-Fi took it over, they I don't know, whatever. Fuck Sci-Fi. I don't want to talk about Sci-Fi. But anyways, I want to talk about like just what it means and shit, because like I said, the old woman and I would actually sit and watch the shit. And we were excited because then when Atlantis came out, you had SG1 and then you had Atlantis, like back to back. So what was cool, especially around season 8-ish, is that you had one and then the other, and they kind of went together. So it's like you watch one and you watch one, and you watch two and you watch two. Now the only downside with that is that the first season of Atlantis kind of mirrored in a way the first season or the 8th season of Stargate SG1, and it felt very samey to me a little bit. I can't explain it, but it was just, it felt like the beats were the same almost. Like one was doing one thing and then you kind of see the similar thing happen. Like they had this okay, for example, there was this one character, Anubis, and he was badass. He was fucking cool looking, because what he was half ascended. Now what the ascension was human beings, they basically shed their human form and turned into like energy beings, like light angels, if you will. They ascended into the next realm where the physical doesn't really matter. Well, some of the people who did that, they could come and take human form again, and they wanted to help other humans do the same thing. So they were kind of like guides in a way. Well, one of the guides helped Anubis ascend, and then the person realized, oops, he's a piece of shit. Basically, he's an asshole. He's basically like Satan. He's like the worst thing ever. And the ascended beings that were there, they have like a hierarchy, and they're like, you're in trouble for doing this because you brought this guy into the fold, and now he's got all these power and he can do some serious shit. And they have this like mandate that they can't interfere with lower planes of existence. So if Anubis wanted to like wipe out the entire universe, oh well, it is what it is. It'd be like, I don't know, like if an ant colony went and destroyed a beehive or something, whatever. Who cares, So what happened was they deemed collectively that Anubis should not be ascended because he would have too much power, because he could go back and do whatever he wanted. So they sent him back, but they only sent him back about halfway, which means he didn't have a physical body. So he had this he was like this dark energy, this dark, like almost like a spirit, and he had to have a force field like in the shape of a body. It was really cool. So you have this dude in this almost like Star Wars cloak hood, almost like the Emperor, and you look at his face, it's this hologram, and you see like this weird like wavy like black smoke behind it. It's really fucking cool. And he had this really cool voice. It's like, I'm Anubis. Very fucking cool. Very cool. And they riffed on a lot of stuff too. They riffed on like Star Wars and shit. That whole season 8 was like a riff on Star Wars. I mean, they had Daniel who was wearing the Jedi outfit because he was ascended. Because what happened was the actor wanted to leave and go do some other stuff, so they basically killed him off. They made him ascend with potential, he might come back kind of a deal, and he did come back. So it was weird. Kind of annoying, but it was actually kind of cool because you had these two ascended beings kind of going at it. So it's like, you know, imagine like old man Luke going against the Emperor, kind of a deal. And what happened there, I'm getting completely off kilter, but what happened there was Daniel, who had these powers, wanted to attack Anubis because he was going to attack a bunch of people. Well, the fucking ascended assholes put a stop to what he did, and they basically said they basically did to Daniel what they did to Anubis, except instead of only bringing him halfway back, they failed at it or whatever. I think they fucked up basically. I don't think they didn't know what to do because he was half ascended, but he was here on this plane of existence. He couldn't ascend to the other plane, but he didn't have a body either. So he was that's why he had to have a force field. So when Daniel took action against him in the physical world, they put a stop to it, and then sent Daniel. He ended up on another planet somewhere. He basically woke up naked. He couldn't remember who he was. It was actually a really cool story. I mean, it might sound weird the way I'm telling it, but you had to see it. So they definitely had some cool characters. One of the mainstays throughout the entire thing was Apophis. That guy was such a dick, dude. He's one of those guys where it was just so fucking cool. He was such a cool ass. He was just a dick, and you loved him being a dick. All the bad guys were dicks because you had Apophis, you had Baal. Baal was pretty cool. The actor all the actors were very cool. I mean, just in general. But he was a dick. I think my favorite was the long-haired guy. Can't remember what was his name? I can't remember his name, but he ended up killing Teal'c's father. I can't remember his name. And then they had Hathor. Who was the other one? There was Hathor, and then there was that stupid bitch. I hated her. What was her name? She was oddly attractive, but her mouth was weird. I can't remember her fucking name. Oh, it's been so while since I've seen this show. I gotta watch it again. But yeah, they had some cool bad guys. They had all Egyptian lore to go through. But yeah, Anubis was definitely my favorite because he was just cool. Oh, anyway, back to what I was saying, how the two shows were similar. So you had Anubis, who was this dark energy, and what would happen is at the end of season 7 or whatever it was, they destroyed Anubis' ship. They destroyed his force field. So he was this dark energy roaming around. Well then, after that show ended, you go into Atlantis. Atlantis had a similar story, because what happened was they were exploring the city, and there's all this technology and stuff. They don't know what it is because it's so advanced. It's from the ancients back in the day. Well, some kids, refugees that they found on a planet. Now that was kind of cool because they when our team arrived, they had to go find food and other stuff because they were coming into this abandoned thing. There was no physical food, or just whatever they had with them. So they needed to seek stuff out. So they used the gate to go to local planets. And when they did, they awoke what was known as the Hive, which was or not the Hive. What is it called? The Wraith. I'm thinking Hive. That's Destiny. They awoke the Wraith, which basically think Marilyn Manson as like think Marilyn Manson as a vampire. That's what these guys are. They basically eat human people. They don't drink their blood, but they take their essence, their soul. And what's cool, they had the dude from the liquid metal dude from Terminator 2. That guy, whatever the fuck his name is, he was the main commander. And one of the queens of the Wraith were feeding on him. She has this sucker on her hand, and she like pressed it into his chest, and you see him like instantly start to get older because she's like absorbing his life. Very fucking cool, actually. And they ended up waking up the Hive, and because what would happen is the Hive would go, I keep saying Hive, the Wraith would go into hibernation, and every so many generations they'd awaken and feed on the people. Now, obviously they can't kill all the people, and they're constantly, the whole thing is about this hunger, and they've got to do it, or, you know, blah blah blah. So every few generations they'd wake up and just eat these fucking people, and then let them mass produce and do it again. Well, our team gets there, and they end up awakening the Wraith early, and they have to take in this one village worth of people, which is one of the main characters. Her name's Taylor. So her people, she's like a leader of these particular people. So they have to take them all into Atlanta. So instead of finding food and water, they're taking in more people. So it was kind of this dire strait kind of a deal, where it's like, you know, it just got worse, so to speak. Anyways, as we were fucking around, one of the kids of the refugees was putzing around. They were playing around, playing like hide and seek and shit, or whatever the fuck it was. And it was cool because they had this like Wraith mask, and one was like a secret. One was like, basically it was hide and seek like we would, but one would wear the mask and the other kid would go and hide. It was kind of cool actually how they did that. But one of the kids ended up getting into a teleporter. I don't know if it was a teleporter, some sort of elevator, and they ended up on the other side of the city, and they found this laboratory, and they ended up touching something. Anyway, there's this black mist that came out, and it would be drawn to the energy. Well, they had these they referred to them as Nakwita generators. Nakwita was this metal that they found, this mineral, and it helped make these like really, you know, impressive generators. And they had like 5 or 6 of them set up throughout the entire city so they can keep it, you know, up and running. Well, this thing would go to each one, and they ended up having the monitor, and they turn one on, and it would go to it, and just as they got to it, they turn it off and turn another one on the other side. So they kept it going, like in a pattern. And like if somebody got in, you know, caught into it, they'd end up dead because it would literally suck the life out of them and suck the energy out of them. Anyways, what they finally had to do is they had to set up a bomb and push it through the gate, and this thing went after the bomb because it wanted to go after the energy. And they found this like abandoned planet, which, you know, I almost feel bad for whoever goes through that fucking planet. Because like if somebody's just exploring, you know, like, hey, what's this? All of a sudden you go in, this fucking dark mist and shit eating you alive and stuff. But whatever. So anyways, they kind of had like dark mist people back to back, and it felt a little too samey to me, but you know, whatever. Anyways, that's not the whole point. I don't know why I'm talking about all that, but I don't know. I really liked the series because it was one of those things that my mother and I just would, you know, enjoy. We'd watch together. I mean, literally every Friday night. Like Dale T didn't give a fuck. You know, he was, you know, camping out in wherever the fuck he was camping out, or he was working nights or whatever. But it is what it is. So you got the old woman sitting in her chair. I'm sitting on the couch. You got the 2 beagles. You got Lucy and Ollie sitting there, and we're having this event, basically, this Stargate event. And it was really kind of cool. And what's really sad, and it bothers me to this day, is that the old woman died in the middle of season 8 of Stargate SG1. She never got to see the end of it. Because there's one line, and it bothered me. Not that the line bothered me, but the fact that she was dying of cancer, she had to get up like use the bathroom every 15 minutes. And there was this one line where Jack calls Mayborn a rat bastard, and just the whole scene itself was hysterically funny. And I wish he had seen that, because it was just you had to know the situation and the story and the whole thing. And when he calls him a rat bastard and chases after him, it was pretty funny. And it's just sad she never got to see that, you know. But it is what it is. And she never got to see the end of season 8. Season 8 was pretty cool, especially the last 3 episodes. It was a time travel episode. It's very cool. I really liked the what they did with that one, because essentially what happened, they were looking for the 0-point module to help Atlantis, because it basically, think of it like a big battery. It takes like this I forgot the science behind it, but it takes like this it does something with energy, whatever. There's legitimate, well, one thing I do like about the series, it was relatively legitimate science behind it all. It wasn't weird like, oh well, just you know, it wasn't just like a plot point. There was actual science behind it. So this 0-point module that they had, they found this reference to it 5,000 years back, when the because essentially Ra in ancient Egypt, there was an uprising, and it was sort of a story that was going on throughout the entire series, and it goes even back to the movies, because they didn't deal with Ra until the movie, which was whenever that was. Well, this was like 8 years after that, 10 years after that, and this was 5,000 years ago. So basically what happened was they had to go back, and they couldn't fuck with the history too much, because, you know, like if they killed Ra then 5,000 years ago, the uprising didn't happen. They didn't bury the gate where they were supposed to. Catherine, the woman who found the gate, or her father who found the gate rather, she was just a small kid, she was 11 years old. They would never have found the gate. It never would have ended up in Cheyenne Mountain, and the team would not be there, and it would cause, you know, potential paradox. So they had to basically not fuck with the timeline. Well, they ended up going back, and then getting stuck there because something happened and they fucked up. And then they tried to push the uprising further, like push it forward, and they ended up screwing it up. Well, anyway, Ra ended up taking the Stargate with his ship. He took it and left. So it fucked up history. So then the next episode, part 2, you see our characters in modern day, and they're completely different. It was so fucking weird, because it was like, what the fuck is going on? What is going on here? And it was really cool, because you get to see them, and they're, at this point in this series, they're having fun. They're having fun doing what they're doing. They were really enjoying what they were doing, and you could see, because it was coming out in their performances and stuff, and they were just having fun with each other and the whole thing. It was great. And so now you got this fake team almost, where they kind of, well, what happened was when they went back, they had this camera with them, and just before they had gone back, there was a archaeological find in Egypt where they found this stuff. I don't know what it was, some trinkets and whatnot, and Daniel Jackson, being the historian, said, well, we know where that's going to be. We can, you know, take this VHS camera that I have, this little portable camera, we can record some shit, and we can bury it there, and we know these motherfuckers are going to find it, you know, in the future, like a week before we were to leave. And so they record all this stuff. They find this like modern technology in this ancient thing, and they're like, what the fuck? So then you got the people who have the Stargate, which is the Cheyenne Mountain people, which is the Stargate Command. And they're like, okay, so they end up getting all these people together, you know, the original team, although they're doing different stuff now. Like Samantha Carter, she didn't was she didn't join the army, or she didn't join the military. She stayed a doctor, but never became, never went to the military. So her whole life was different. And it was cool because you have these people that were like, because she's like a badass. Even Daniel Jackson kind of became a badass a little bit. He was shooting the guns and stuff. He actually became pretty good. He actually became kind of, militarized. Like he can handle he can handle the weaponry basically. Where now it's like he's just nerd in a little sweater vest. And he doesn't know what the fuck's going on. He's got the glasses. And he's like, he's acting like a nerd. Because obviously he's never picked up a gun. This version of him. So it was kind of cool. And then they have to go and try to fix it. So they end up going back in time. And it's just, they go back 5,000 years. And then they end up fixing it anyway. And at the end, what happened was at the end of, I think, second to last episode or the third, whatever it was, you see Jack and Sam sitting on the dock, and he looks and he's like, yeah, I got no fish in my pond. And they're fishing, and he's like, yeah, there's no fish here, we're just fishing. Because he liked to just fish, just sit there with the pole and just fuck around. I mean, obviously he couldn't catch nothing because there's no fish in the pond. Well, at the end, they show the same scene, and they're sitting there, and all of a sudden you see a fish jump, and she's like, I thought she said there was no fish here. He's like, well, it's close enough. Because they have the videotape, and they're like, okay, our team, we went back in time, but we didn't actually go back in time because it rewrote the history. So, because what happened was they hit the 0 point module, and they hit it in that thing, in that area, with the camera. Because before, they just found whatever was there, the pottery or whatever was there. And then in the alternate history that they created by fucking everything up, they found the pottery and all that stuff, and the 0 point module, and the camera. And then when they rewrote history, the team, before they left, found all that stuff, and they're like, oh, it's a 0 point module. Cool, we found one. So it was really cool how they did that. It was, you had to see it to understand it. It was I like time travel stuff, so it was very cool like that. And then they could dial into Atlantis, which was cool at the end because Atlantis was getting their ass beat because they had basically, when they got to Atlantis, the city was underwater, it was submerged, and it was a shield around it. Well, it had been down there for like 10,000 years or whatever it was, and the shield was failing. and there was a cool time travel thing with that one too, because fuck it, let me explain that. Because what happened was, when they first went there, the shield collapsed and they all died. Okay, that's what happened. They all fucking died. Well, the main leader, Elizabeth, she ended up getting into what they refer to as a puddle jumper, which is the little ships that they had at Atlantis. Because they had these little ships. And one of them was different. It had something in the back. Well, it turned out to be a time machine, which is the same one that let SG1 go back in time. So they were using the same time ship, basically. Well, they ended up going back in time like 10,000 years or whatever it was. Everybody else died except for Elizabeth. And she's in, like I said, 10,000 years ago. And she meets the guy who designed it, who created it. And he's like, I always thought time travel was possible, but I never knew, blah, blah, blah. And then, of course, he basically sees the fruit of his labor, and he's like, oh, there it is. Yeah, it works. It was very cool. And what happens is the council didn't want to let her go back in the future and change anything, because they were the ancients before they ascended. So they were basically a bunch of assholes, essentially. And I'm trying to remember how this works. Basically, they were a bunch of stuck-up pricks before and later. So, the one guy who created the time machine was like, I'm going to help you. So, what he did is he put her in stasis, and they had like 3 0-point modules, and they were going to rotate or whatever. And every so many, whatever, thousands of years, she would come out of stasis, she'd have to rotate the thing or whatever, and then go back in. Well, when they find her, because they're exploring the city, and when they find her, they find this old woman in stasis, and they're like, what the fuck is this? And they take her out of stasis, and they realize it's Elizabeth. And so you have young Elizabeth and old Elizabeth, and old Elizabeth is like, well, no, that's not how it happened. When we first came, the shield failed, and the city was flooded, and most everybody died. Because what happened was Elizabeth, when everybody in Atlantis had left 10,000 years ago, they basically left her in stasis. She did something to her and the one guy, the time travel guy, set it up so that when the shield failed, the city would rise up to the surface, so they wouldn't die, basically. So when the team got there, and this is what happened when you first, like, episode 1, they get there, the shield starts to fail, they start to panic, holy shit. Next thing you know, the city rises to the surface, because at the bottom of the sea, it rises to the surface, and it's just sitting there like a sitting duck. So at the end of season 1, toward the end of season 1, the Wraith are coming to destroy it, because it's like, oh, there it is, and they've been looking for it. They didn't know where it was because it was under all the water, and they couldn't find it. And, well, they don't technically want to destroy it because it's the only gate system that can dial the 8th chevron, because most of them are 7. It's essentially, I remember how they worded it. It's 6 points in space, and then 7th is your destination, or 7 is where you are. And if you do an 8th, that goes into like another, almost like another area code, if you will. Like they're in the Pegasus galaxy, so it's another galaxy. So if they want to get to Earth, where there's like 7 billion people to feed on, okay, they don't want to destroy this gate because it's the only way to get there. Because if not, they would literally have to travel the void between the Pegasus galaxy and the Milky Way galaxy. And I mean, they could survive it, but it'd be a long trip. And their ships aren't totally built for that. Now they can zip around in the galaxy, but as far as going from galaxy to galaxy, that's a different story. But the Stargate, because it draws so much power, and it can get to the next, it can get to the galaxy over, so they want to basically capture it and kill everybody and get to Earth. Well, what happens is, because of the antics of SG1, they now have a 0-point module. They can now raise the shield of Atlantis and basically save the city, essentially. So it was kind of cool how it all tied together. I'm completely rambling here, but I don't know, it was kind of bothersome that the old woman never got to see any of that. Because like she invested into a lot of it, and just I don't know. But yeah, I definitely have a fondness for it. I really do. I don't know what it is exactly, but like the characters are cool. I like the characters, especially Sam. I like her a lot. Especially in this decade, or in this generation where it's like you gotta have strong female characters. She was definitely a strong female character. Now it's the military, and she was not the highest rank where Jack was, Colonel O'Neill was, but what was cool is you got to watch her go up in the rank, and then eventually she took over the team, so it was kind of cool in that regard. Like later on, she was Colonel, And like I said, she took over the team. So it was kind of cool. I like how they did that. Now, season 8 and 9, they brought in Ben Bolden, whatever the fuck his name is. The guy from Farscape. And he kind of became the leader. Because she wanted to go off and do other stuff. She was kind of taking a hiatus. And then she decided to come back and join the team. So she was kind of, not second fiddle, but she was more, they were kind of co-equal, actually. And it was kind of cool, actually, to see that, you know. Like, I'm not into the whole, well, because, you know, let's just put a woman in there because, and blah, blah, blah. I like what they did there. I like how they did it. Because, again, you get to watch her go up in rank, and she actually takes over the team, and then she goes and does her own thing, and then eventually she becomes leader of Atlantis last season, or second to last season. And they got Ricardo, or whatever his name is, from Star Trek, that weird little guy. He takes over Atlantis. Yeah, Woozy. I like that guy. Whatever his name is. What's his name? Ricardo or Ronaldo? Whatever the fuck his name is. You know who he is. From Star Trek. Whatever. He's his name's Woozy. In the and he's referred to as the little disagreeable man. And he has some really good stuff in the last couple seasons of Atlantis. He takes over the Atlantis team after Sam goes off, because she wasn't done, but she wanted time off too. And Richard Dean Anderson wanted time off to be with his daughter, so he kind of left. But he did quite a few cameos and stuff. So, but like season 8, he was kind of, they made him general because he would show up at like the beginning and the end, and then the rest of the stuff was just Sam and the rest of the team. So he could have his time off but still be there, but not actually be there. But I don't know, I really liked the series. I liked where they went with it. The Teal character was pretty cool. Now, I do think they kind of copied a little bit in Atlantis when they did the Jason Momoa, whatever the fuck his name is. But I did like his character in Atlantis. He was the what was his name? Ronan. His name was Ronan. He had this really cool gun. And I don't know. It was. I like both series for what they were. And there was a lot of cool banter back and forth. I like what the writers were doing for both series. But yeah, I definitely have to watch that again. I want to watch through the whole fucking thing again, I think, because it's actually not a bad series. I don't know if I'm a huge fan of season 1. Like, there's a couple that I skip. There's a couple episodes. Like, there's this one episode where there's some sort of, like, space race where there's this alien, and it's just stupid. I skipped that one. And there's one that bugs me, and I don't know why. It's called Emancipation in season 1. I just can't bring myself to constantly watch it. It bothers me. It just bugs me. Not for political reasons or anything like that, but something about it just irritates me. They got these Mongolians, and they kidnap Sam, and it's one of those like women are lesser than kind of things, and it's just, I don't know, the series, this show, just that one bugs me, and I skip that one every single time I watch through it. It's not a bad episode, it just bugs me. I don't know why, like I said. But there's very few that I actually skip. There's 2 that I skip. Now, was it season 5 or season 6? I think it was season 6. where they bring in Jonas Quinn. That was kind of a down season because they didn't really know what they were doing. And they admit they didn't know what they were doing. Because Richard Dean Anderson wanted to take time off, so he wasn't around much. And then Daniel Jackson had died off, and they replaced him. He's he was he's supposed to be a fat guy, but he was the kid from Stand. What was his name? Ralph Lauder. That guy. Whatever his name is. Corin something, whatever the fuck his name is. He comes in and takes over the Daniel Bryan role. Or Daniel Bryan. Daniel's role, whatever. Daniel Bryan, that's from wrestling. Whatever, I'm out of my fucking mind right now. So yeah, that whole section was kind of blah. But it did pick up. Yeah, because in season 7, Daniel comes back. I didn't like what they did because they basically wrote him in, and then Michael Shanks, the guy who plays Daniel, is like, "Oh yeah, I want to come back," and all these ideas and all these things I thought I was going to do. I was going to go direct and be, do all this other stuff outside that didn't all pan out. Let me come back to the show. Well, they welcomed him back, and which is great, but. And then he basically took this other character that they had written in, they just quickly wrote him off. So he's there for like a season as a placeholder. And they brought him back for like one episode. It was just kind of like, I didn't like that. Now, one thing they did do that pisses me off is the character who plays Elizabeth in Atlantis. They basically told her that she had a guaranteed contract. Like she was going to be working for 3 or 4 years, whatever it is. And she ended up moving out. I think they're doing it. I think they filmed in Canada, Vancouver, or wherever. So she actually moved there, bought like a house or whatever. And just as she did, they write her character off. And she got kind of pissed and which I don't blame her. It's kind of a dick thing to do. You buy the house and buy all that shit, and you're guaranteed, and you're expecting a paycheck, and they're like, "Oh yeah, by the way, we don't have any work for you." That was a dick thing to do, and they knew she was doing it too. So it was like, whatever. So there's this one section, like right toward the end of the season, the series, collectively, where she just gone. The woman is just gone. And so they kind of write her off with this weird little, like her consciousness was downloaded into the computer kind of a deal. Which, I mean, they had to, because they had to explain where she went. And she's basically like, fuck it, I'm done with you people. And she did show up a little bit, and it was just really disappointing. And I think the absolute worst, and this is why it pisses me off, why I fucking boycott. Dude, I am literally having a one-man boycott against sci-fi. I will not watch anything on sci-fi. Now, there's that Expanse. I'm thinking about getting the Blu-rays. I will eventually get those. But I am not watching sci-fi. First off, I don't have cable anymore, and I'm not going to pay for it. I'm not going to go out of my way to look for that shit. Fuck sci-fi. Fuck them. Okay? Now, I'm sorry. They collectively piss me the fuck off. They irritate me. Sci-fi can kiss my dick as far as I'm concerned. Now, what they did is Stargate SG1 was rolling through their 10th season. And I believe it was the first sci-fi show to make 10. Not the first show to make 10, but the first sci-fi show to actually make 10 seasons. During their 200th episode party, where like everybody's together and they're eating cake and just having a good time, Sci-Fi decides they're going to inform the actors that, yeah, there's not going to be a season 11. This is it. It's over. During their 200th episode party. Now, I'm sorry. That is just bullshit. You don't do that. You wait until either after the party, you wait a couple days, whatever. That's just shit. And then the poor guys at Atlantis, all the actors and shit, they got notified that the series was going to end via Twitter. It's like... And then don't even get me started what they did with SGU. Those fucking guys didn't even realize it was over. I mean... I'm sorry, you don't treat your actors that way. You just don't. I'm sorry. If you're going to do that kind of stuff, at least have the fucking dignity and at least have the decency to actually let them know. These motherfuckers found out they were out of a job via Twitter. Okay? They're just sitting around one day and all of a sudden it's like, oh, yeah, we've been canceled. I'm sorry, that is just... That's not cool, dude. That is just not cool. And what pisses me off, especially with Stargate, now I can understand, okay, sure, it was in the 10th season. Now, what basically happened was the initial show ran for 8 seasons. And at the end of season 8, that was kind of the end of it. You know, it is what it is. They then kind of rebooted it with Ben Boulder, whatever his name is, from Farscape, which they canceled that show too, and people love that show. And that went on for seasons 9 and 10. And instead of doing the Egyptian thing, they started doing the like Knights of the Round Table mythos. Which was kind of interesting, because there was definitely some stuff that you could do there. There was this holographic dragon in this one scene, and it's like, it can kill you, but you can't kill it, kind of a deal. And it was, you had to see it to understand. Now, I didn't really care for the shift, necessarily, but the bad guys were really cool. I mean, they were really cool. The Ori, they were like these religious zealots and shit. That were sort of the evil Ascended. Like, there was the Ascended who wouldn't get involved, and then there were the Ascended who would pose as gods. And it was really cool, and the Ori would send these followers and stuff. In fact, oh shit, what's his name? The black guy. Chef, what's his name? Not Chef, oh, what's his name? The singer there. What's his name? He was in the fucking show. Louis Gossett Jr. was in the show. He was one of the actors for a couple episodes. So it was kind of cool. What was his name? I can't remember his name. The black guy, the singer. Chocolate Salty Balls. What's his name? You know what I'm talking about. He's fucking dead. What's his... Whatever. He was in there. It was very cool. Season 8, I think? No, season 9. He was either season 9 or season 10. He was part of the council. Fucker. Ever since you made that fucking quip about that shit, I can't stop thinking about that. So every time I say it, I end up saying it wrong because I'm trying not to say it wrong. Whatever. But yeah, that was definitely, it was fun. It was a real transition between the Egypt shit, which was really cool, and the Knights of the Round kind of stuff. So I wish they had implemented some of that stuff earlier. I mean, they technically did, because some of the devices and stuff that they found, you saw earlier, they're basically just taking, like, oh, here's a prop, let's reuse that and tell a story about it. Which was cool because it all kind of fit, and it was like, oh, that's cool, you know. That prop that they were using now has a back history, and oh, it's pretty devastating what it actually does, you know. So Now you would definitely like the ships that the human race, the humans created, because when they meet the Goa'uld, the snake-like creatures that burrow into your fucking head, they've got these motherships, and it's just crazy. And we start building our own ships after we get the Naquita generator. And that was a kind of an interesting story too, because a 12-year-old girl basically told them how to do it, how to build one, because they had these nanobots in their fucking head. And what they would do is they'd have somebody, like a child, who had like millions of nanobots, would study like physics and study math and science and different sciences and shit. And their nanobots would retain that information, and then they would have this like culling where they would take the nanobots out and give the nanobot to the adults. The kid would then kind of be in this stupor, like like a vegetable, but all the adults would have the memories. So it was kind of cool, actually. And so you got this 12-year-old girl trying to teach Sam how to build this stupid Naquita generator. And that was sort of the catalyst to get the ships going. But yeah, they definitely had some cool ship designs and stuff like that. Although I don't know if it was the greatest ship design, but it was kind of interesting. I like the 302s. 302s were pretty cool. They were the single man. I actually think of TIE fighters in a way, where you had like the two-seater with the two, hold on to something deck kind of thing. They had that. What was funny is that they actually took a Death Glider, which was the Goa'uld's attack vehicle, and they essentially just slapped the freaking U.S. Navy, U.S. Air Force logo on the side of it and called it their own. Well, there was a recall device in there. And so you got Teal'c and Jack, who are trapped in the thing, and the thing is like going ballistic, going out of control. And all of a sudden you hear Apophysis' voice saying, you're a traitor, blah blah blah, and you're going to die in space. And what's going to happen is this vehicle is going to return to the homeland, but it's going to go really slow, so it's going to be like 1,000,000 years by the time you get back back to where Apophis is, and you're going to be dead. So it was kind of cool. And Sam's father, I like that guy. He was in the house. He was one of the hopefuls there in that one season toward the end. Can't remember his name. Whatever his name is. He's a cool old guy. I like him. Then Teal'c's mentor. And some of the best episodes, as far as I'm concerned, is when the entire cast was kind of together. Because you had Teal'c's mentor. Fuck was his name? Braytak. You had Braytak, you had Teal'c, and you had the gang, and you had everybody. And then you got Don S. Davis, who's General Hammond. I love that guy. That guy was fucking great. I didn't realize that he was an artist. He actually was like selling paintings and shit. He was like an actual artist. I didn't realize that. And what was fucking cool is he died, and then right toward the end of Atlantis, I think it may have been the last season, season 5, maybe the end of season 4, they have this quick moment where one of the guys is like to Sam, "How did you get here so fast?" And like, "Oh, we took the SSS whatever General Hammond." It was kind of like a nod to him. So it was kind of cool. They acknowledged that he actually had died in the story, which was kind of sad, but I don't know, man. There's too many people dying. I don't want to get into that right now, but whatever. But yeah, collectively, I really like the series. I really do. I gotta watch through that again, damn it. Maybe in November. I think I'll start it in November because I got a bunch of Halloween movies. And I want to talk about the Halloween movie stuff too. I want to get into that. So, who knows? Whatever. Anyways, I'm just kind of rambling. I wanted to talk about, the family and the I want to get more into that stuff, and I started talking about the actual series itself and whatever. It's just, it's one of the few that I really got behind. Like, I'm really not a big Star Trek fan. Not that I dislike Star Trek, I don't want to say I don't like Star Trek, because I do like Star Trek. I like the movies. I couldn't get into the series is that much. Whatever. I did like Enterprise. I did like that one. I haven't even watched the originals. I have a hard time. This is totally off the point, but I can't get into Next Generation. I just can't. I don't know what it is. Well, first off, I've seen way too many montage videos of Riker and the swing leg, and it's like every time I see, like, if I'm just watching and I see him do it, it's like it just takes me out of it now. Or it's like what the fuck is it? It's like what? And then Data, and it's just and then the shitty fucking dude, I'm sorry. Especially talking about like SG1. The fight scenes are actually pretty cool. The shootouts are very cool. They're good for the most part. I mean, they're relatively good. And later on, they actually have some hand-to-hand combat ones that are actually pretty good, where they actually did like choreography and stuff. And then you go back and you watch Next Gen, and they're doing these like open palm slaps, and they're like, psh, psh, oh, it's like this overly dramatic bullshit. It's just so cheesy. Now I understand, and there's a time difference there, and it's just, again, I watch too many montages. It's just, I can't get past it. I do want to watch that series though at some point. I've never seen it. I've seen episodes, but I've never seen like the whole, like, beginning to end. I don't know, I can't get into it. I just, for the life of me, cannot get into it. I want to get into it, I just can't. And that bothers me. But I loved Enterprise. I think the reason I loved Enterprise is because I started with one and just kept going. I'd love to own Enterprise. I just, something about Enterprise, because it was kind of my first series that I really got into. Like I said, I was never into the first one, the Kirk stuff. I wasn't into it. I was into it for, okay, that's Star Trek, and that's all I need to know. Where the Next Gen was kind of, I didn't like Next Gen for what it was, like a replacement reboot. I didn't like that. I still don't, even to this day. I get it. I like it for what it is now. Like, I can appreciate it now more than I did when it first came out, because it was basically saying, okay, what we had before, let's try something different. It was a reboot, and I don't like reboots of anything. I don't like reboots. Now, I do like the new movies that are reboots. And I think the reason I like them is because they're trying to get people who look like the actual original. Like, the one dude looks like Kirk. The one dude looks like Spock. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, those are the characters. I see that's Spock. You know? It's like young Obi-Wan. I can deal with that. My mind can say, yes, that is young Obi-Wan. It's a different actor, obviously. Because the fact that one was like 70 years old and he's dead now, okay, I can deal with that. That's young Anakin, I can deal with that. You know, it's like my mind can get around that. So, I didn't really have a problem with that. And I'm actually glad they did, because I think those characters like Kirk, there's a lot of stories to tell about Kirk and that I don't think have been told yet. You know, so I like the idea that they did reboot it, but kind of kept the same characters. Because, I mean, they could have redone it and like, oh, here's some random new character. Love these characters. Like they did with Next Gen. Like, oh, here's Picard. You know, he's our captain now. It's like, no, he's not our captain. It's Captain Kirk, motherfucker. You know? It's Captain Kirk. It's Captain Kirk. They know the captain. They know the captain. No, don't get me wrong. I like Picard. You know, like the actor, like the character. You know, it is what it is. Now, I will say something about Patrick that I really dig. Is that he is dedicated to the character. Like, he was doing cameos for Professor X way after he probably shouldn't have been. And I really dig the fact that he came back. Same thing with Ian, what's-his-face, Magneto. I didn't think he was gonna come back. I thought he was gonna do the original trilogy and be like, done. Because a lot of those guys, you know, they're one and done, basically. And you never see them come back. But I respect the fact that those two came back, especially for the Days of Future Past. That was very cool. Very cool. And they were clearly having fun, and, you know, especially those two together, they like spooning each other and shit, and kissing and whatnot. Now, the weird thing about Stewart, I don't think he's gay, but I think he would totally fuck Magneto. I totally think they would suck each other off. I really do. It's the weirdest damn thing. They've got a weird bromance. They're like lemon and Mathau in a way. Actually, they are. That's exactly what they are. They're like the grumpy old men. Oh, dude, they should do a grumpy old men. The two of them. That could be funny. That could be absolutely awesome if they did it right. Holy shit. Like a new grumpy old man with those two. Holy shit. Or Odd Couple. Holy shit, dude. Whatever. Like I said, I want to get into the Generation. It's just the acting is so shitty and good. It's like there are parts that are good. Like Stewart's stuff is great. It's just he's overacting the fuck out of everything. He's screaming and shit, and it's weird and it's out of place and it's just great. But it's weird at the same time, and it's like you watch the montages and shit, and it's like, what the fuck? What the fuck? I mean, it's like he completely goes ham on certain things, and it's just, so, I don't know. I love it, but I hate it, but I love it. Like I said, I do want to get into it, though. I do want to watch that. Maybe after I do, maybe beginning of the year, because we got Halloween movies this month. I want to do Stargate again in November. December is going to be Christmas movies, so maybe in January, maybe I'll try to do. Well, if the shit's on Netflix, I don't know how much is on Netflix. If they have the original Star Trek series, the original, I'll start there, and then I'll do Next Gen, Enterprise, do that kind of stuff. I can't get into Voyager. I can't get into that kind of stuff. 6 and 9 and 10 and 4. I can't get into that stuff. That just does not compute with me at all. I want to like it. I do. I want to like it. I do. Believe me, I want to like it. It irritates me, and I can't. I'm not ready for that yet. Okay, I'm not ready for the little spin-offs, Voyager and Deep 6-5 and 439s and whatever. I can't get into that stuff. And I'm sure they're great. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trashing them. I'm just saying, right now it's too much. Okay, like if I get into Generations, that's going to be pretty much all I can handle right now, Star Trek wise. Because there's that one episode of Enterprise that I have never seen. Like, we were watching them back to back. We were watching them week to week. Well, there was one week I was sick. It was the episode where they went back in time or whatever it was, but the Western episode. And I recorded it, but I never watched it. It's the one episode that I know for a fact I've never seen. And I've always wanted to go back and watch that one. And I feel bad for Scott Bakula because he hasn't done anything since then. But I miss T-Paul. I miss Trip. Oh, Trip is in later episodes of SG1 or Atlantis. He's one of the Wraith, which is actually very cool. He's actually, oh shit, I forgot to mention him. He's the Wraith they call Michael. What they try to do, because the Wraith they're human beings that were bit by the Radius bug that turned them into like these vampiric fucks. Well, they try to come up with a retrovirus that turned them back human. So he was sort of this half human, half Wraith, and he keeps reverting back and forth. So he ends up being like the single worst bad guy because he's not human and he's not Wraith, and the Wraith reject him. The humans reject him. So he goes on this rampage. He actually takes over Atlantis. He takes over the tower. And he goes completely nuts. It was actually a really cool episode. Or a group of episodes. Because he actually, like I said, he starts off and you actually feel sorry for him. Like he's you know, he's basically been abused in a way. Because he became this thing. And then he became this half-human thing. And the humans kept looking at him like, you're a piece of trash. He didn't know why. And then he starts to revert back into the Wraith form. And then the Wraith Hive ship. That's why I kept saying Hive, because the Hive ship. That's why. I knew it was Hive, something to do with it. The Hive ship, the Wraith that were on the ship, rejected him. So he becomes a really cool bad guy. And it's Trip from Enterprise. And it's just really cool to see him do that, because it was a cool character. I mean, it just was. Yeah, because like I said, he becomes this major fucking prick at the end. Like, you want him to die at the end, because he's just kind of gone off the deep end. And he has to die. There's no getting around that fact. He has to die. So, and the way he actually does that, it's kind of cool too. Oh man, it's fucking good stuff, man. There's some good quality shit there. I'm sorry, there's some very good quality shit there. Yeah, I mean, we got to do it. I don't know about you, but I got to do it again. Shit. Yeah, I definitely got to watch that again. Watch the whole thing. I actually want to get. Now I own all that shit on Blu-ray or DVD, but I kind of want to get the Blu-ray of Atlantis. I have it on DVD, but I like the better quality. I wish they'd bring SG1 to Blu-ray. I have the VHS or the DVD, and the quality is not that good. Like, some of that shit was 90s quality, so it wasn't even that good then. But having like a remaster, but I don't think they've done that yet, or if they have, it's brand new. I mean, I don't think they have. It just sucks that the only thing that they have is Atlantis. Because, like I said, I'd buy the whole fucking set. Because it's, I don't know, it's a personal thing, or it's just, it was sentimental, I guess. I guess that's what I'm trying to say in a way, because like, I'm trying to express that it was sentimental by talking about what I love about it, even though it's just, I'm just regurgitating story plots and ideas. So I don't know if it's actually coming across as entertaining or boring or what, but I don't know. I don't mean it to be boring, obviously, but I mean, because it is kind of hard to explain 10 years worth of a story, like, oh, they found this and that led to this and that led to this, and that's what you need to know to understand why I like this, and blah, blah, blah. You know, that's a little difficult to get into, because, you know, you definitely have to see it. Now, one of the episodes I absolutely loved from SG1 was the Groundhog Day version, where they get caught in this time dilation field where they kept reliving the same day over and over again. And there's this one scene where Jack and Teal'c, who are in they realize that they're reliving the same day where nobody else does. So they're actually dressed up in little golf shorts and stuff, and they got the gate open, and Jack's about to swing. All of a sudden, you're Hammond like, General O'Neill or Colonel O'Neill, what are you doing? And he turns and he's like, in the middle of my backswing. Like, it was absolutely a hysterical fucking moment. You have to see it to understand it, because obviously the general was pissed that he's opened up the gate and he's golfing through it. The whole point is that the gate costs like $1 bazillion every time they open it. So he had to be there. Oh, and they got what's his name there? His last name's Cox. He's the senator who wants to close. He's basically this Republican asshole. And there's definitely a couple jokes in there that Richie Dean Anderson put in there about like who voted for these shrubs, talking about the bushes. There's definitely some. They do a lot of like little takes on different movies and stuff. Like Richard Dean Anderson loves The Simpsons, so he adds all these little lines in there about like Homer and stuff like that. He referred to the general as a little bald man from Texas. His name's Homer, I think. So he adds in his own little one-liners and stuff. And once you realize what it is, it's funny, if that makes sense. And he likes the what was it? Wizard of Oz. So there's all these quips about that. A lot of little things like that, and if you know the shit, you pick up on it. It's just fun. But yeah, I haven't had really. I don't know. There's only a few seasons and series that I really like right now. Like a lot of them, they're not doing anything for me anymore. Some of them. Like I love Gotham. Gotham is a great series. I love that one. The Flash is fun. You'd probably like the Flash. I think you like the Flash. Yeah, I definitely think you'd like the Flash, because I mean, if you can get over the whole goofy, he runs really fast, and that's his thing. It is a fun series. But I do like those two. I like. I'm trying to get back into Daredevil. I haven't watched the second season. I haven't watched the second season of what's her face, Jones or whatever the fuck her name is. I didn't watch Luke Cage yet. I think the Punisher's coming or out or whatever, or soon, whatever. Then you have like what the Defenders, I think it's called. That's coming or is already out or something. Yeah, that one's already out. So I got to catch up on that shit. I don't know. I liked the first season of Jessica Jones, but it just nothing made me want to get back into it. I liked the first season of Daredevil. Having a hard time. I watched the first one tonight. It's kind of cool. The Punisher's showing up, so it's kind of interesting, but I do love House of Cards. Oh, dude, you would love House of fucking Cards. If you have the opportunity to watch that fucking shit. It's basically, think of House, but in a political sense. I love House of Cards. That fucking series, I'm going to buy that, I think. It's going to be one of the few that I actually bought. Like, I bought Gotham and I bought Flash so far. From the ones that I've seen, I'm definitely going to buy House of Cards. I do like well, I shouldn't say did. I don't know. Orange is the New Black. I got into that a little bit. I think there's a new season out. I don't know. I can't get back into it though. The problem with those is when I end it, I can't get back into it. Like, I had a hard time getting back into Walking Dead. The first few episodes were like, but then it hooked me on again. That's why I like waiting for all the shit to be done. You know, for the most part. That's why I really, really liked Breaking Bad. Because when I started Breaking Bad, they were on like season 4. Like season 4 I think had just ended and season 5 was about to start. So by the time I got done, there was a short wait between 4 and 5. Like I think maybe weeks. And it was great. And we're talking coming out on Blu-ray, and we're not talking like on TV. So I basically got, because once I got season 1, I ended up getting season 3 and 4 without even thinking about it. And then 5 was due out not that long, within like days, I think, maybe in a week or two. And I'm really glad because I like watching. I really enjoyed watching the whole thing. I cannot watch these fucking shows anymore. Like if I had cable, I could not watch shows and sit there with the commercials and 3 minutes worth of commercials, and then come back and watch 15 minutes worth of the show, and then go do another set of commercials, and come back and then wait a week and I can't do that anymore. I literally cannot enjoy a TV show like that ever again. I just can't. And I can't do week to week either. Like, now if it's an episodic show, maybe like a Star Trek, yeah, you could probably wait a week. But when it's something like Walking Dead, where it's like, what the fuck, what's gonna happen next kind of a deal, yeah, no. I would much rather, like, that's why I will not fucking watch Walking Dead on TV. I just won't watch it. I will wait for the fucking Blu-ray. I have to wait until August next year to watch season, 8? Season 8 ain't even out yet. Yet I gotta wait until a year for it. And it's completely worth the wait, too, because I can binge that shit in like 3-4 days. The whole thing. And it's great because you go right from 1 into 2 into 3, and there's no waiting. There's no commercials. The only waiting I have to do is getting up to pee. That's about it. And getting a snack. That's it. Like I said, I can't watch weekly shows anymore. I just can't do it. I've tried, and it's like I get bored in between the commercials. Or I'll sit there and I'll start to fall asleep. I'll doze off, and I can't have that. Anyways, so yeah, that was my love of SG1. I guess they're coming up with a new, I guess almost like a webisode, or I guess they're going to tell the origin story of the gate, and they want people to purchase the MGM app to buy it. I might buy it for a month and then just watch that shit and then cancel it, but they're coming up with basically they're adding new stuff to the Stargate universe, so that's pretty cool. I just don't want to have to fucking buy it. If it came to Netflix or something, that'd be great. Or it came to Blu-ray, I'd rather buy it there. But I don't know. I'll wait and see. Because they're saying basically if it does well, maybe they'll start a new series. And like I said, Stargate is a great concept. It's a very simple concept. Like, oh, there's a gate, go through it. Okay. And it's really cool that they took a movie with that and like, oh, let's make 10 seasons worth of programming based on it. Like, they want to redo, the original creators of the original movie, want to reboot it and do a trilogy. And basically delete everything like the series and all that stuff and pretend it didn't exist. Now, I kind of wish they wouldn't do that. Now, they can reboot it. I don't have a problem with that, but I wish they wouldn't pretend that the rest of all that shit didn't happen. Like if they wanted to maybe reboot it like Star Trek did. You know, where it's the same characters but different. I could deal with that. But, you know, whatever. Now, obviously, the series was never meant to be... You watch the original movie, and then you move on to the series, obviously. But, you know, whatever. Now, there are the 2 movies at the end. One is Continuum. That is a cool one. You could watch that by yourself. Like, independently. You don't have to watch the series. That one you could watch. That one's fun as a time travel. And what's so cool about that one is you got to see a bunch of the System Lords, like Apophis, Ball, and some of those other ones. Very cool that they made cameos in that. That was a good movie. I really liked that one. Again, it's a time travel, so if you want a good time travel movie, that was actually pretty good. You just have to accept the fact that the wormhole, basically, if the wormhole goes close enough to a sun as a solar flare is about to hit, it'll slingshot the wormhole back to where it came from, kind of faster than it left. So you'll actually go back in time. If you can acknowledge that moment, it'll totally make sense. Which they kind of established in an earlier episode. Okay, actually a couple earlier episodes. So from like a fan perspective, it makes sense. Now, I don't know if you're just watching it as the first time and you don't know that. I don't know if that... they explain it, but I don't know how well that stands on its own. I think it does. But again, you really have to like push the limits of your understanding. But again, if you've watched the series, you're like, oh, that I understand it. I know that. I've seen that before. You know. So I don't know if you have to suspend your belief that much. Like if you've never seen the whole series, maybe. I don't know. It's hard to take myself out of that and put myself in the role of somebody who is like, oh, this is, Stargate Continuum, is it any good? Which I think is good. I think it even, what was the first? The first one was Ark of Truth. Now that one is technically standalone too. You can definitely watch that one. But it's better if you watched at least season 8 and 9. Or excuse me, season 9 and 10. Because this is kind of... Ark of Truth is kind of the finisher of those. It's kind of... Basically, it's the third season of that. Because you had season 1, which was season 9. And then 10, which was 2. And this was sort of the finisher. Put a nice little bow on that and finish up the story. Which is... I'm glad they were able to do that. Because the storyline that they had created was kind of cool, and it deserved to go on further. Because what I wish they had done is just end Stargate SG1 at the end of season 8, and then make 9 and 10 a separate thing, and then maybe go on for 2 or 3 more episodes or 2 or 3 more seasons. Because, like I said, they had set up a whole new lore. And they basically rebooted it, and what they had was good. I don't know if it was great, but it was good. I don't think it was as much fun as, like I said, the Egyptian shit, but what is as much fun as the Egyptian shit, But, whatever. Anyways, yeah, that's my love for SG1. Just wanted to talk about that. I don't know why I wanted to talk about that. I just did, so anyways, you know what? Whatever. See ya.